right. Of course, this has become the National Signing Day since last season brought almost 80% of the Power 5 players into the fold in December. It is National Signing Day there at Oxford, Mississippi as well, with Matt Luke looking to make hay in the SEC Western Division with a bowl appearance in play again in 2019. We got Jake Evans on the line from the Rebel Walk. Jake, how you doing this afternoon?
Pretty solid. How are you?
I'm doing great. And you said it all in one quick sentence when we jumped on before we started to record, that this is life in the SEC, especially if you get past Alabama, LSU. Georgia, of course, has emerged as just an elite power. You've got that group of teams that if you look at the national ranking, you think, okay, this is a team that if you brought in these kind of classes and moved on to the Big 12 or the Pac-12, you would be in great shape. This is the 22nd ranked class right now as it stands, number 11 in the SEC out of 14 teams. That's life in the SEC for you.
Yeah, it's that's the struggles that if you can beat 75-80% of the teams in the FBS and still fall to the bottom 20% of your own conference. So that's just kind of the life of it, and that's the competition of it, and that's why it's pretty obvious that the SEC is the best conference of football, in my opinion.
Yeah, I certainly think it is this year. It has been for most seasons in the last 15 or so.
Right.
When we look at this class right now, we're looking at, it's a large class with already 25 signed and from all over the South, 16 from Mississippi. So as you run through the class, who stands out to you?
Well, so the best player that Ole Miss still officially has committed to him is Jerrion Ealy, running back. He's a borderline 5-star coming out of Jackson, Mississippi. However, a lot of people think that he's a very highly touted baseball prospect, and a lot of people think he'll be heading to the NFL draft, kind of like MLB draft, kind of like Kyler Murray did. So a lot of people aren't expecting to ever see him on campus, but officially he is still the best commit that the Rebs have right now. After that, Dennis Jackson, he's a receiver from in-state. He's another borderline 4 or 5-star. Ole Miss has been great at churning out wide receivers over the last few years, and I think this is just going to be another guy added to the puzzle. Darius Thomas, another good 4-star offensive lineman coming from Jonesboro, Arkansas, and then Sam Williams. He's a JUCO guy. He's a big defensive end, standing about 6'5", 250. Again, right there, 4 borderline 5-star. So those are the three big guys, and then obviously Grant Tisdale. He's a dual threat quarterback coming from Allen, Texas. Texas is always a football factory, and it's good to get a guy like him. The Rebs are losing starting quarterback from this year, Jordan Teamu, and it's good to bring in another guy to build him under Matt Corral. So there are some big names in this class that the Rebs certainly are excited about.
Talking some Ole Miss football with Jake Evans. You can join him and the rest of the crew there at the Rebel Walk. And yes, as Jake mentioned, 16 from the state of Mississippi out of 25 signed thus far. So I can't think that there's too many more spots left with 25 already signed.
Yeah, I believe the number is going to be 34 total that the Rebs will have. That they're going to be able to sign with the reductions and everything. When it's all said and done, with official signing day coming here in another couple months. But we're expecting most of this class to be pretty full by the end of this period, I believe, on Friday.
So I've definitely lost track of high school football in Mississippi over the last 15 years. I was down there for 6, and per capita was just about as strong as anywhere in the nation. Obviously, the sheer population not there, but the quality of player is high. So how's the high school talent there this past season?
Well, the talent in Mississippi this year is as good as it really ever has been. I mean, that's kind of been the consensus for the last few years, and that's why it's been such a focus for Ole Miss and other schools, Mississippi State too. I mean, this has been the best talent that Mississippi has seen come through in a long time, and that's why this year's been so crucial. So, while it's great that the Rebs have gotten some of these guys that they've gotten, that's also kind of the reason that it's hurting a little bit that we've lost a few guys to other schools. The talent's been incredible this year, and just about as good as any other state in the country.
Yeah, so it's got to be good for Matt Luke and his staff to be able to freely go out there, and for those kids that would be concerned, and I don't think it would be many, but would be concerned about the after effect of the Hugh Freeze situation and the scholarship reductions and what that's going to do to possible competition there in the SEC Western Division, not being able to get to postseason play the last 2 years. All the shackles basically seem to be off.
Right, yeah, and that's one of the things that Matt Luke has talked about ever since those rulings came down a month or so ago, that, you know, it's nice that for once he said that he can go into recruits' homes and he can sell the program and he can do it freely without, you know, anything looming over their head that's kind of been the case for the last few years. So it's nice that they finally get to do that and they get to sell the school for what it is and not for, you know, what it might be down the road. So it's, you know, it's nice. It's very nice.
So based on what we saw on the field this past season, which was pretty much what we expected, exceptional offense for the most part, explosive offense, the defense lackluster, issues with depth, and trying to keep people off the scoreboard, transitioning what you saw late in the season versus what you know is coming on board, and some people that are lost. You mentioned Jordan Ta'amu. And moving on to 2019, what is your preseason, way too early look at the 2019 Rebels?
A preseason, way too early look. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think this is going to be a pretty obvious rebuilding year. The Rebs are losing a lot of guys. That, you know, that explosive offense, like you talked about, they're losing a lot of the big names. You know, All-Americans Greg Little and A.J. Brown, both of them headed to the NFL draft. DK Metcalf, another, you know, possible first-round pick going to the draft. All the guys that were expected to leave are leaving, and you know, that's just kind of part of it. And like you said, the offense was great. They're bringing some weapons back, but they're also going to need to replace a lot. So, you know, the offense, I think, still should be pretty solid this year. Defense, like you said, was kind of an issue this year. A lot of depth problems. You know, I think, I don't remember the final number, but I think Ole Miss ended somewhere around 10 season-ending injuries of guys who started at the beginning of the year or had to replace someone. So the Rebels they were plagued with the injury bug all year long, which really killed that defense. So, you know, a way too early prediction is that it's going to be a rebuilding year, to put it lightly. I think we're still a year or two away from seeing another, you know, solid competitive product on the field. But I think that, I hope that the Rebs are going to be better than people think. I'm you know, seeing right around 500, maybe something like that.
Anything we've missed here, Jake? Anybody on down the line? You mentioned the top 3 or 4 guys in regards to the star rankings. Anybody else that stands out to you that you like?
Yeah, there's a couple guys here. Jaden Jackson, he's another Arkansas guy, another big wide receiver. Like I said, they've been churning them out the last few years. One of the things, like I said, the Rebs are losing a lot of offensive linemen, Greg Little included, you know, the best one. DeAndre Prince from Charleston, Mississippi. Nick Broker from Illinois. He's a big offensive tackle. You know, he's one of the better guys in this class. He's from Illinois. That's a guy that's going to be huge. And then Patrick Lucas from Wetumpka, Alabama. He's a big defensive tackle. That's one of the places that the Rebs have struggled mightily the last couple of years, is with size and you know, just sheer strength and athleticism on that D line. And so that's a guy that is going to be huge if he can pan out for this class. So there were needs that needed to be addressed, and some of them are being filled right now. So that's a positive takeaway from today.
So with 25 already signed, I'm looking at the state breakdown, and they come from everywhere that you would expect, from around Mississippi, right, from the Deep South. You've got plenty of talent, more talent in the Deep South than anywhere in the country. And then you get the lone kid coming in. He must be a pretty good player from Illinois as the offensive tackle, as you mentioned, wants to play in the SEC.
Right. There you go. Come down south, play some big boy football. Let's see what you're made of.
There you go. Jake Evans, the Rebel Walk, breaking down the Rebels as they get the largest haul of any class that I've seen of all the teams that I've covered and all the media guests that I've had on, with 25 that could swell all the way up to, as Jake mentions, 34. Jake, we appreciate you stopping by and laying down some information and insight for us.
Mark, thank you very much for having me.